Alright guys, here we are again. This will be the third tutorial in assignment 1 here, which is point tracking in After Effects. And this last one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 4-point or a perspective planar tracker. Now again, when we get to Mocha, you're going to find that it's a much better tool for doing this. But it's good to see that it does have this built into After Effects and it works fairly well. So again, what I've done here is I've just brought in a video clip, and this is just of this building as the camera wraps around. And again, there's even a better way than doing this using what's called the camera tracker in After Effects, but it's good to see how the 4-point tracking process works. So essentially what I've got is I've got a building, and I want to put this Zillow logo onto it, okay? So the Zillow is going to eventually be the target, right, when I do the track motion for 4 points. But there's something to be aware of, and that is that if I bring the Zillow in here like I typically would, you notice that it is bigger than the 1920 by 1080. And that is a big problem. That is a big problem because it needs to be 1920 by 1080, because what it's going to apply to that logo is called a 4-corner pin. So as we track 4 points, the upper left will be tracked to a corner point, the upper right will be tracked to a corner point, and then it's going to distort that logo to fit using that 4-corner point. So what we actually have to do, and this is what's important if you have errors like this, is we actually have to make a composition and put our logo there, but then we have to make it fit the composition. It's very similar to, like I said, when you edit your video down, that you need to be sure to then nest it into a new comp, or else it will track the entire length of the video rather than, for example, this is a shortened version of this video, so I need to make this into a new composition, or you can pre-comp it. Okay, so I could come over here and I could even call this comp for track. And then take the original comp, which again was trimmed to length, into this new comp to track. So again, we've got the edited video, which has been trimmed. We've dropped it into its own composition so we can track it. And the graphic, because it was not 1920 by 1080, I've had to drop it into a 1920 by 1080 comp window so that these corner sections will get corner pinned. So then we go to track motion. Now I'm going to zoom in here just so it knows where to drop these a little bit better. So I'm going to put this Zillow sign on the side of this building here. And this time, because we're going to do not just a stabilize, not a transform, not a parallel corner pin, which again is what happens when we use 2, but I'm going to do a perspective corner pin. And you see what it does. It drops 4 different of these track pointers in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to align it to an area. I've got a track area, and I've got a spatial area, a search zone, so to think of it. Put that one right there, just to fit the location of it. So I'm trying to get one window in here. Oops. Now when that happens, you got to be careful, because you see I selected it and I moved it, but the center point needs to be, the center point needs to go with it. That's that center point of that search area or track area needs to be in the center at all times. So you got to be careful when you take these and move them around. Just like that. So you see, each of these is going to be tracked, and then it's going to assign a corner pin, which is a layer distorter, and drop that logo into this perfectly planar on a perspective angle. So now that I've got it there, I'm going to track forward, and I'm just going to do this the short and quick way. Obviously, you'd want to go a couple at a time, because if you rely upon this play button, the performance of your computer lags and it will often jump away. That's why I showed you before in the last tutorial. Hit that, pause it, hit it, pause it. That allows your computer to track a few frames at a time, which is far more accurate. Zoom out a little bit. Now I do see some of these points are jumping around. It's going to happen. All right. So in a nutshell, you see I've now got these paths of those points over time. I'm going to edit my target, and you see it doesn't have the target loaded because comp 1, which I scaled to 1920 by 1080, needs to be dropped into now this track. Just like so. Now I can go back to my tracked version here. See? In the layer window, edit the target, tell it to be comp 1, which is, again, is my logo graphic, and I apply it. Now, you notice it jumped way out here. See that? And that's bad. Very bad. And the reason it jumped out there is because of something wrong with the center anchor point of my thing here. When this does this, it's a simple effect. It's a simple fix, rather. And it's just because, again, it got off. So when this happens, it's just reading something wrong with the anchor point of that. So I'm just going to undo until I get back to nothing again. Back to my planar track. Right here. See, I still got it here. Edit my target again to say comp 1. Let me go back to the beginning of this, though. And now I'm going to go apply. Did it again. Undo. So there's some things that are going wrong here. I'm going to figure it out. Let's see. Got that correct. Here it is, properly located. All right, let's go back to our planar track again. Perspective corner win. Current tracker is tracker 1. Motion source is my video. My edit target is comp 1. Check my options here. It's still luminance. Okay, that's correct. Try it again. If this fails again and offsets it, what I'm probably going to need to do is rerun the tracking of these 4 points. Let's try that again. Yeah. Way off there. Now there's... Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Okay, so you see what the problem is here. See how it's all flipped upside down? What happened is that the 4-corner anchoring, all right, upper left, upper right, see it's called a corner pin, these got flipped around somehow. And it's probably because, problem with that is that when these tracking points got dropped in here, see how it's 1, 2, 3, and 4? Somehow it's flipped around. So I'm just going to reset this. Okay. And you notice by resetting it now goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, the way it probably gave me before, it was 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is the ordering of my points. And that was because it started with a single track and then I converted it to this. It got it out of order. It flipped it around. So let's just go ahead. It's not that difficult to just go back here. Whoops, let's make sure we select to include that center point, right grab it so it has that center anchor, just like that. And then this one, whoops. There we go. Again, trying to follow that perspective of the building. All right. And by the way, guys, there's actually an After Effects 4-point tracker here like this that you can replace a face. So as long as a person's face is mostly looking towards the camera, you put 4 dots in a perfect square on their face. It doesn't have to be a perfect square. It kind of works better as a perfect square. And then you can find your target, which would be another person's face, and you can face swap. It's kind of a cool thing. All right, let's do this again. Edit target. Yep, still got that right. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of the other way around. I'm just going to rip through here with a quick fast track. Pause. Track. See, they are shifting around a little bit. Okay. Go back. I can hit apply now. And you see now it is properly aligned in that area so that it then looks like it is now placed on the building. And the cool part about it is we still have all these potential things we can do here, right? I can throw on a perspective of a bevel alpha. See, to make it a little more three-dimensionality. I can even change what direction the light is coming from. So if I look around here and I say, hey, the light's actually coming from the right instead of the left. All right. And you see the effect. I could even do, because it's actually, back to perspective here, because it's actually against this building here, we can actually get away with a poor man's drop shadow on this, which again would be over to the left. Okay. And it'll give that illusion that it's actually, see, on that building a little bit more. And again, you can even key these directions, so as the camera moves and we fly around this, that I could actually have the bevel light as well as the shadow cast get, well, as we're getting closer to this angle here, of course, it would get longer or shorter, and I can key that. See, at the end it kind of failed right there. Again, when stuff like that happens, just make that N to end your comp there before we actually see the oops. That's why, again, we use just doing small clips like this. Some other stuff I'm looking at this, for example, again, it's a outdoor video filmed from, probably a helicopter or drone. And there is, I know these cars down here are probably bright blue, but why is that so bright? So even here, just because you got it in there doesn't mean you can't use a hue saturation. Just to desaturate it, see? The more you desaturate it, the more real it actually starts to look, because we're looking at it through the illusion of atmosphere. What else can we do to this? Effect, because again, film grain, this is a PNG. PNG is still pretty high quality. We can also put in some noise. So I could add noise and grain, dust and scratches. Let's just add some grain to this. Oops. See? As you can see, in fact, look at the videos actually was at one point interlaced, which is why the pixels are going like this. So I could even come here and I could choose, start to add some noise to this. blending modes. I can change the color here to say more saturation of my noise. Soften it a little bit. No, softness. See? Play around with the sizes, all that stuff. So I can add grain to make it look more interesting. And there's a couple other filters in there that are quite cool in the noise. Like you can add film grain. Let's see, do they have film grain anymore? No, they don't. Noise. These are just different, match grain. And see some of the stuff of what it does here. So again, this is our preview of what it's doing. Kind of starts to look a little bit better there. And you can even see preview, final output, whatever, to see what that looks like. So now, if I go and fit, you see the result. And again, looks pretty good. Again, we're ignoring the bottom and everything. Other neat things that are here too, like I said, is we do have the ability of filtering some of these keys. See? So I could, keyframe assist, keyframe interpolation. These, see, I can, play around with these keys, put them all easy in, easy out, change the speed, the velocity of it all. Interpolation. Okay. So there is some neat things that we can play to this. Remember, you can always look at these keys also in a graph view. Okay. And this is a nice way of looking at it, because then you can see when there's big or strange, leaps in these keys. So this one again is the lower right. You can see there's a few places here where you can see it bobbling, and you can actually do a reduction just by selecting every other key here. See? So wherever you see it have a big leap, you can almost just take that key out of there. It's too big of a jump or something like that, and that'll smooth out your keys as well. Again, output this, right? You can output it, file, send to the media encoder, do an MPEG-4 H.264 of it all. But also, again, remember, part of your final process is to not only show me the tracked project, but show me, for example, the breakdown of it. Like, okay, I started with video, I tracked the video. Then we come along, okay, and we downside, this is the original graphic, which of course you can even see here of just the graphic and its movement. And then of course back to the final result. That's how I want these kind of presented when it's all said and done when you submit the project. All right.